What is this voice? I never noticed this tiny little fragment. Sometimes a fragment gets cracked and it breaks. So is there no puzzle element here? Maybe I'm misremembering. Or maybe I was just wondering if maybe that was going to happen where we have to like arrange everything in the correct order. Or maybe it was just like, no, you don't need to do that, you just need to see each scene as they're unlocked, and that's it. Just like how the fate we believe in cracks sometimes. A damaged fate is no longer the same fate it was. Then which fate does this piece belong to? I picked up the tiny fragment and tried to match it with the fragments I have in my hand. Just trying to complete the Millennium Puzzle. And the last fragment I picked up was the Hinamizawa fragment. Well, of course! So like I said, this is an answer to all the other arcs. But you could also kind of see it as like Matsuribayashi, because Matsuribayashi kind of felt like it was just like, that just was just there. But no, that's the important piece that's missing for the, like, all the other arcs. That's the piece, that's the vital piece that has been missing for so long. Well, forever, pretty much. Because it's never been on the bloody board. The closest it came was the previous arc, but it didn't even, it's like, okay, you got it here, you're gonna play this piece. Nope. When the, most vital time, that piece just buggers off. It's like, completely useless, unreliable. This fragment was distorted from the beginning. And look. See? You see these people morphing in and out here? In this crystal fragment thing? Also, I noticed that none of them seem to be Akasaka himself. I mean, if this is supposed to represent the Matsuribayashi one, surely they could have, just had Akasaka, Oishi, and Rika, because they were the only ones with counterparts in that arc. But it's showing all the other characters that weren't in the arc. And look, see, this tiny piece fits perfectly. With this tiny fragment, how will the world change? What kind of miracle will occur? The whole world warped. Since I put the broken piece back where it belonged, the distortion centered on the crack. But that doesn't mean I can't take a peek inside. It's already past 1985. It's a time long after Rika and her friend's stories tragically ended in June 1983. Come to think of it, Matsuribayashi took place a few years prior to that, but it also took place a year or so after the events of it. So maybe that's what this is about. Also, how fitting. It's like it's June right now, Although they didn't specify any day or anything. Beep. Oh, with some mild interference, an order crackled through their headsets. All units, Chief has a message for you all, so listen up. Good work, everyone. The local police have given us 50 minutes to wrap this up, but I'm only giving you a few seconds. Don't let a single person escape. The main target is a diplomat. Don't let him suspect you're a cop. Just grab him. Make sure you leave no injuries. It'll lead to a problem if you do. So we're getting a proper scene here. They're dirtbags who hide under diplomatic immunity to deal with local gangsters. They launder money from drug dealing and force people into the sex trade to pay off high-interest debts. Going to local embassies, some of the victims are younger than teenagers. Shitbags. Shitbags. I think they took liberty with that translation. I don't think that's a word in Japanese. Let's see what he actually said. I have no idea what that is. I mean, I don't even know why I try, because I barely can recognize any contra characters. I mean, I recognize it, but don't know what it means. It's like, I think that might be the contra character of death. I'm not sure, actually. Let me check. No, it's not. Okay then, I do recognize one of these contra characters though, and know what it means, sort of. Actually, where did it go? Where was it? My eyes are failing me, I can't pinpoint it. Oh wait, right there. That's obviously girl or woman. Oh, actually, yeah. I think that contra character. Wait, what? See? I don't remember him saying 10. Did he say 10? He didn't say 10. Or I'm going to assume maybe it means like even girls under the age of 10. Anyways, I think that represents a little, and that's like the contra character for girl, woman. So that's probably, like, the context for that. And whatever they're calling him, probably, I don't know, probably something along the lines of shitbags, because that sounds about accurate. Maybe not in translation, but, you know, the whole, you know, thing here, yeah, definite shitbags. God damn it, it happened again! Stupid freaking weather reports. Normally this would be a simple case, what with the perpetrators being gangsters, but when when the police found out that a foreign diplomat was involved, things got much more complicated all of a sudden. Diplomats have diplomatic immunity, so the police can't arrest them. But they knew he was an important figure in the whole scheme, and there was no doubt that he was the middleman between the foreign criminal organization and the Japanese gangsters. They couldn't let him escape. It'd be easy to report him, but that wouldn't solve anything. The police had asked the embassy for assistance, but they denied the requests, and the case was put on a standstill at that point. That's when they found out that the organization was going to be selling the Self-Defense Forces classified radar and missile technology secrets. Wait, what? The Public Safety Division then had to move on the premise to protect this classified government information. As they would say, that operation was set to go. So they're basically like, oh, there's nothing we can do. Wait, they've got that? Friggin' get in there, lads! It's like, okay, now it's a more serious matter. 2 more at the front stairs, 2 men at the underground entrance, 4 men at the back door. All suspects are believed to be armed. 2 more than usual, huh? It'll only take 2 seconds more for him. He never shows anyone mercy. Can you hear, Akasaka? You're on point. Be careful. Okay, let's move. Akasaka, I copy. Let's go. Okay, so, it's a lot more intense, you know, than the, you know, fight with the, mountain dogs that one time. You know, well, we didn't know it was the mountain dogs at the time. In Matsuribayashi, you know, when he was with Oishi trying to, you know, find the, construction guy's son. Whatever, if you saw him at Matsuribayashi, you get the idea, and it's definitely almost serious, this scenario. Because, you know, there's guns involved, and it's a bit more violent. A man suddenly appeared around the corner of downtown. It was Akasaka. He displayed none of the naivety that he did when he first met Rika. He has grown from experience. When he got to the entrance of the underground club, a bouncer with a heavy foreign accent stopped him. This place, members only. Do you have a membership card? Akasaka pulled a card out after being asked. It was a card that was very difficult to forge, so they could only get one. As the man on point, he was the one to receive it. The bouncer let Akasaka in after confirming he had a membership card. Akasaka-san passed the bouncer at the entrance. He's going down the stairs. Come on, Akasaka. You know, I just realized this said had a heavy foreign accent, and I was like, so, you know, I was like thinking like, okay, so he's a foreigner, he's not Japanese. Then I was thinking, it's like, I was like imagining English, but Japanese. Like, you know, if I speak Japanese, if I were to speak Japanese fluently at all, it'd be like, you've got an odd accent there, that's not a Japanese accent, because when you think about it, how does that sound to Japanese people? When, like, someone, you know, from a different country learns the language, because surely there's got to be a different accent there as well, isn't there? At the bottom of the staircase there was an overly decorated door like the ones you'd see at a high-class club. The venomous glow of the cocktail lit it up, silently warning everyone it was an entrance to a den of evil. Oh man, when I went evil, my throat, Welcome, may I see your membership card? The guard at the entrance took the membership card and put it through the card reader on the wall. Beep. An error sound. Slight perspiration could be seen on Akasaka's forehead. The guard swiped the card a couple of times more. Beep. Beep. Akasaka-san is having a problem. Did they change the system? Akasaka's encountering trouble will change plans. Secure safety pronto. The expression on the guard with him steadily grew dour. His right hand reached inside of his jacket, probably fingering his gun. Ding! The buzzer suddenly rang with a delightful tone and the card reader flashed the green light. Immediately after that, the lock on the door opened up. Thank you for waiting. Please head on inside. The guard pulled his hand out of his jacket and opened up the heavy door. Loud music and flashing colorful lights spilled out from the inside. From within that, a well-dressed guard appeared to welcome Akasaka. At this moment, his first mission was accomplished. Having acted as the go signal for the remaining units, Akasaka was also in the dangerous position of being in enemy territory all by himself. The door was the biggest obstacle for their ambush. The door looked automatically, so whenever it was closed, it was also sealed that way. It was a solid door and nearly impossible to open from the outside. Somebody had to not only open that door, but keep it open for several seconds in order for the raid to begin. Akasaka was the only one who could do that. This is Akasaka. Entrance secured. And then they overhear him and it's like, ah shit, plan's ruined guys! Pfft, he gets shot. Go, go, go! I want to see how that looks in Japanese. It's just like, why? Do you really need 4 kanji characters for go, 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 go? There's probably a bit more detail to that. You know, I'm kind of ruining the scene here, but you know what else could have really, you know, enhanced the scene? Instead of having, you know, that... They had that intense, like... You know, that cool organ piece. That would go well with this. The complex on the other side of the club was getting a new tenant, and there were 2 trucks parked in front of the building. But of course, that was just a disguise. The door to one of the trucks opened and several dozen plainclothes investigators jumped out. The same thing was happening at the back door too. The ground level guards noticed this and began to draw their guns, but were taken down immediately by nearby investigators who had been pretending to be innocent bystanders. Several dozen investigators quietly went down the underground stairs. How could you go quietly down the stairs? After that, surely they'd be on high alert and be like, ah shit, get out of here. These narrow underground stairs were another obstacle to their operation. Everything would end up on the security camera. Their raid would become known within a few seconds. And okay, they've also got to do this stealthily as well. Extra challenge. For that matter, a push on the security button would make it impossible for the lock to be opened from the outside. I just imagine this like in a video game format, and you fail the mission and you just get dramatic, like, mission failed. Try again? That's why they had to secure the door before the ambush. The guards on both sides of Akasaka noticed the loud footsteps coming down the stairs. A well-dressed guard also realized that something was wrong. The 3 guards shifted their attention from Akasaka to the stairs behind him. And as he sensed that attention shift, Akasaka took a quick deep breath and then stopped breathing entirely. The 2 guards standing beside him suddenly rose into the air in strange positions. Akasaka had determined his position relative to the 2 guards next to him. This is the music I was talking about, and this is music for this kind of scene. So he didn't need to check with his eyes. But even so... His fists had been driven into their faces with such precise accuracy and sounded like guns. His moves were well-trained ones and showed no mercy against evil. They were as destructive as armor-piercing ammunition. And furthermore, Akasaka had retracted his arms at the same speed he struck. Everything looked so strange in the flashing lights. The man who witnessed all this probably couldn't figure out what had just happened. The two guards were up in the air in strange positions, and the man who had been standing in front of him was now crouching low. Then that frozen moment shattered. Literally, I guess. The well-dressed guard was smashed into the ceiling, and shortly afterwards came crashing down onto the floor. Later on, while slurping liquid food, he would desperately try to remember whether it was a fist or a leg that broke his jaw. He would probably never quite recall it. Rather luckily, the way his body fell blocked the door, so Akasaka didn't have to hold it open any longer. Akasaka, I'm going in. Wait for your backup. Akasaka! The room was filled with loud music, but everyone had already noticed the brouhaha at the entrance. Whatever the hell. Everyone get down! As soon as Akasaka belled, his warning screams filled the club. Most people immediately hit the floor as if trying to proclaim their innocence. But all the guards reacted quickly to Akasaka. In the midst of all this, there were a few people who were trying to make their escape further back alongside several guards. Akasaka restarted his breathing once and then stopped it again, then ran after them like a wolf. Is he even armed? He jumped up onto the table, smashing expensive bottles of alcohol and scattered glass with ice cubes made from the icebergs of the ark. A fraud and bodyguard whose previous profession must have been a professional boxer thoughtlessly stood in front of Akasaka. With a heavy accent, he tried to taunt his opponents, but Akasaka couldn't have cared less about that. The only display that man was able to put on for him was that he was able to block Akasaka's attack, but he wasn't even an effective guard. The power of Akasaka's punches was so incredible that they simply broke the man's bones in his attempt to block them. What kind of training did you go through, man? The man's arm warped, in a strange way, and the moment after the agony showed on his face, Akasaka's left arm grounded into it. Akasaka, you see, is right-handed. That man should consider himself grateful that he was able to get away with a mere optical fracture. Thinking that this was his chance, an old man attempted to tackle Akasaka's side from behind. He assumed that no matter how strong a man was, he'd go down quickly when attacked from behind. He also assumed that as Akasaka was concentrating in front of him, he wouldn't be expecting an attack from behind to begin with. But that would only be true if Akasaka was just concentrating on his front. Indeed, the attacker was very strong. Akasaka was no longer even thinking about the man before him. Akasaka knew exactly when and what was about to happen. The experience he has built up to this day taught him that his body, more than his mind, remembered the timing for when menaces to society like these would make their move from behind him. Akasaka's attack continued fluidly from the left arm punch, then he struck against the ex-boxer. His left arm retracted, and at the same time he arced his left leg around beautifully as it crashed into the man approaching behind. A dull sound signified that his nose had been broken, but Akasaka already knew that. Akasaka continued his motion directed a decisive right blow to the side of his assailant's head. The man slammed into the wall and bounced off of it, rolling on the floor. It's like, wow, such an intense scene. Shame it's not animated. Akasaka soon took another breath. Under the glare of the dazzling club lights, the guards realized they were up against a demon. Yes, they realized that there was no way to take him down. The guards were being paid to deal with humans. Fighting demons just wasn't in their job description. You're not from Hinamizawa, man. You don't get to call yourself a demon. You don't have the Hinamizawa syndrome. But, he certainly... Well, how would one fight like a demon anyway, when you think about it? At that moment, backup finally arrived. Maybe finally isn't a subtle word, a suitable word. Everything that happened did so over a matter of seconds. The time it took for Akasaka to take down those 5 guards was a span of merely 2 breaths. Well, were they long breaths or short? Put your hands down, put your hands above your head and get down on the floor. If you resist, we will open fire. Akasaka's fierce action, the flow of events was already set. Akasaka's intimidating first strike shattered the gang's leader's will to run. They rolled down on the floor, but one of them began smiling. You shouldn't touch me. It'll lead to an international instance. Akasaka grabbed him by the collar and threw him against the concrete wall. This must be that diplomat, then. Aren't you a policeman? I have diplomatic immunity. I am a diplomat. Good for you. So how much did you get paid, huh? This will be an international incident. I will be calling the embassy. With a dragon-like roar, Akasaka's right fist pounded the wall right next to the diplomat's head. Dude, that's not good. I mean, you may be a badass, but you're probably gonna be like, fuck, why did I do that? I mean, I was trying to intimidate the guy. Now I've broken my hand. Oh. He's doing it repeatedly as well. You're gonna break quite a number of bones doing that. And after that, his left fist pounded the wall on the other side of that head. And soon enough, Akasaka pounded the wall 7 times, each just a silver away from the diplomat. I mean, what if it's a brick wall? Or stone? That's gonna freaking hurt. That's gonna do damage. His fists were easily powerful enough to crush the man's head. The diplomat crumbled to the floor. Akasaka, target secured. Further investigations discovered a secret getaway route that even public safety didn't know about. Dozens of Soviet military-grade machine guns were found, and if Akasaka hadn't stopped them there in the club, they would have escaped, or even worse. The operation might have ended with a brutal death toll on both sides. Well, thanks to how well Akasaka executed his duty, the operation was completed without a single shot fired. Come on, hurry! The local police will be here soon. Put them on the truck. Since foreign diplomat was involved, they had to make sure it didn't look as though the whole operation was carried out by the police. Instead, it was made to look like a simple gang war. They would dump the useless gang members and hand over the target to the police. Of course, before handing him over, they'd make sure he spilled everything he knew. That diplomatic pig would be used as a negotiation device by another part of public safety. They found plenty of evidence that said pig was tied to an underground criminal organization. Not wanting a persona non grata on their hands, the embassy would likely cut all ties with him. The rest would be the business of other departments. Public safety's job was to take care of the things regular police couldn't deal with. Akasaka, you okay? Come in, Akasaka. This is Akasaka. We're on our way. You've done it again. Report to the chief to get reamed out later. Akasaka, you sure are a demon. 5 men win mere seconds. It's not even karate anymore. Your fists should be recategorized as lethal weapons. Are you Cell from Final Fantasy VIII? Sure was lucky that none of them drew their guns, though. Knowing how brutal Akasaka-san is, he could have turned them into honeycombs. Shut up, don't make me sound like an assassin. I show no mercy against evil, that's all. The pigs he had just caught were no average criminals. They had committed so many unforgivable sins. Strength behind Akasaka's fist was proportional to those sins. The heavier their sins, the more powerful his blows would be. Come on, round them up. Akasaka, make them hurry. Local police will get here quickly. This is Akasaka, understood. And you guys here, hurry up. Roger. Commander, we have 5 inch here. Please have meds ready. You weren't any traces left of Akasaka's old naivety. He had grown to be the vigilant ace of his department. Well, you could definitely see how he'd be a very useful piece to the board. He grew. Well, that said, it took place in 1985. That's 2 years after. So could he have grown enough to be like really, really powerful, useful piece for this, game, I suppose? Akasaka was trained inside a dark dojo filled with the smell of sweat and mold. The dojo was located in the middle of downtown in a small building. It wasn't that big, and they weren't that well equipped either. It certainly didn't look like a dojo where a person as skilled as Akasaka would train. I bet in this scenario, it's like how in Onikakushi, when it goes over there, it's like Keiichi had to learn from this, Shion had to learn from this, and then like in later arcs, they kind of retain that kind of thing. This is probably due to what Akasaka failed to, you know, do for Rika, you know? Failed to, you know, help her out, so it probably pushed him further. It's like, I'm saying all this, it's probably going to explain it right now. Certainly didn't look like a dojo where a person as skilled as Akasaka would train. There were only 3 or 4 students there, including Akasaka. This was the dojo he picked. Akasaka, karate was certainly a weapon for crushing his enemies, but now he was seeking something further from it. To achieve his goal, a dojo with many young students having actual physical lessons wouldn't work. He had gone to so many different dojos, and this was the one he finally settled on. The time Akasaka punched a sandbag, the heavy thud of his punch and the clang of the sandbag's chain would echo. He wasn't just punching blindly. He fought first, felt those thoughts, and then punch. It was more of a deep and low vibration than a proper sound. Drops of sweat scattered, and the dust swelled up in the air. It was the perfect blow, embodying the concept of one strike, one kill. But he wasn't satisfied. He closed his eyes, controlled his breathing as if trying to hear the cry of cicadas. Then he punched again. From a beginner's perspective, it looked like he was taking breaks between each. The other students training on their own would glance over and sense a fearsome respect at his focused blows. I heard Akasaka-san works at the police department. Really? Someone like him as a police officer, I don't want to do anything bad. Still, his concentration sure is amazing. He never gets tired. On his days off, Akasaka came to the dojo in the early morning, and he silently trained all day. His training was no longer physical, but mental. The other students were already aware that his continuous concentration was the secret of his strength. However, that was easier said than done. As long as a person lives, they are bound by countless ties and idle thoughts. For a person to submit all his will into such singular focus is more like trying to attain enlightenment than something in the realm of martial arts. Man has tried many different methods to achieve such enlightenment. And what we've learned is that there is no one way to reach it, and a path one takes can reach it if mastered. Karate is what Akasaka chose. Rumors say that his wife's dead. Supposedly he does karate to forget about that. Wait, really? Did she die? Really? It's like, yeah, really? That's different from what I heard. I heard he couldn't save a girl on the job, leading him to realize his weakness or something like that. Now that sounds like probably what happens. Hey, I can hear you. Quit talking about all the people in train. Yes, sir. There was a small beeping noise. Somebody's watch was letting them know it was noon. Akasaka-san, we gotta get some lunch. Can we get you something too? Sure, I don't care what you get. Thanks. Akasaka was more pleased to be alone in the dojo than to have anyone bring him lunch. When they left, silence filled the building. Shit, my focus dissipated because they were talking about me. If that happens because of that bit of small talk, that meant he had much more training to do. He had to train much harder if he wanted to achieve enlightenment. He focused again and started to punch the sandbag. The sound was a lot lighter than before, and obviously the strength in his fist was no longer there. Realizing that he needed to take a break, Akasaka pulled out a towel from his bag and sat down. The sound of cicadas soaked into his body. The windows were open, but there was no breeze coming in. Still, he could feel the cool air, if just a little. Just as they said, the reason Akasaka started karate was because of Yuki's death. Oh no, she died too. Of course, losing against the suspect in the kidnapping incident was one reason too, but more than that, the pain from Yuki's death was what made him start. Okay, it's like, oh Rika, you doesn't give a shit about your death. It's Yuki's death he cares about. If it's like, who's Yuki? It's his wife, obviously. So losing against the suspect in the kidnapping. So, yeah. That was when he went to Hinamizawa to start that case, and they didn't manage to really, take down the suspect. They got away. That's how the mountain dogs, they're trained for this kind of shit, so, like, he failed that, so I'll probably motivate him as well, but in this case, Yuki's death. She dies if he doesn't, go home before she dies from, falling down some stairs or something in the hospital or something like that. But I mean, is that how she died in this scenario here? Or is it different? Does she die regardless? That'd be kind of depressing. No, it's the former rather than the latter. Yuki fell down the stairs at the hospital and died while he was on a business trip in Shishibone. You know how this clip started with, I guess you could see it as Rika being like, wait, this piece, I didn't even realize it was here. Let's dust it off. It feels like, this is like, should have been earlier on, if anything, It's like, because this is like, in the previous arc, that event was overcome. He was happily married and on vacation with his wife. So, this is the scenario where that doesn't happen, and his wife instead dies. Because he didn't go listen to Rika's warning to, go back home. He fell down the stairs at the hospital and died while he was on a resolution, but he couldn't get rid of that depression, so he started learning karate. But in June 1983, when the Great Hinamizawa disaster occurred, he realized something very important. A girl had predicted Yuki's death, and in return she wanted him to help her. Yuki's death was an accident. He could have told himself that there was nothing he could have done. But as for the girl, Rika Frida's death was different. Well, actually both weren't all that different. He could have done something about both, because as we've seen, if he does go back, to see his wife early on, that doesn't happen. Of course, it's not gonna be thinking like that, is he? She knew about her own death 5 years prior. When disaster occurred, he remembered Oishi and called him to make sure he was okay. Then found out about everything. When he was caught up, he fell into despair. Obviously, Oishi didn't die in this scenario, because the only scenario he's really died in was the previous arc. Because, that was a lot more involved. And in that case, that scenario, Akasaka's wife didn't die. I don't know why I'm just going on rambles about, pointing out these things. It's obvious, keep reading, man. Rika Friday was the turning point in his life. If he had believed what she predicted and did something about it, maybe Yuki wouldn't have had to fall down the stairs. He took the oath to serve the public as a police officer, yet he didn't even notice the plea for help from a little girl. He shoved aside a conspiracy surrounding her until it was too late. He had 5 years to do something about it, but he didn't do anything, and she died. Visiting Hinamizawa for the kidnapping case of the minister's grandson was definitely the turning point in his life. If he had only listened to what that girl said, Yuki would have never died, and he could have been there to help Rika Friday. Those two things continued to haunt him. The investigation into the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa that he heard about from Oishi was put on indefinite hiatus because of the disaster. It was apparent to both of them that there was some conspiracy behind it all. To challenge such things, he needed all the strength and experience that he could muster. He was devoting himself to gain such strength, but it was too late. Everything had already ended. While he was stuck in this dilemma, the dojo instructor admonished him. There's nothing one can do about what's already done. So in that case, the only thing he can do is train diligently so that if the same thing is to happen again, he'll be able to save a person in need. It's all too late. Everything's already over. Yuki died in an accident. Hinamizawa was destroyed in the gas disaster. Rika-chan was murdered as her intestines were ripped out while she was alive. Yeah, that's fucked up, isn't it? Shit. I was too obsessed with Yuki's death and couldn't hear the girl's pleas for help. No, if I had listened to her, I could have prevented Yuki's accident too. Damn it. Damn it! Shit! As Akasaka clutched his hair and looked up, he noticed a small shrine overhead that protected the dojo. Akasaka respected both Shinto and Buddhism, but he had never thought of praying to gods in times of despair. For the first time, he felt like praying for help. If it was something he was capable of doing himself, he would never ever even consider praying. But as it was something he couldn't resolve on his own, he prayed. It was a very selfish wish. If his wish were to come true, Everyone in the whole world would wish for the same thing. Please, please give me another chance to go back to that time. I swear that this time I will save the both of them. Well, like in the previous arc, he saved his wife, but not Rika. So yeah, this moment's definitely necessary to be a piece of the puzzle. What was my voice there? It went a bit high. At that moment, Akasaka's body suddenly felt very light. No, it was more like he was losing balance, as if he was fainting. Perhaps it was because he shouted so loudly after training and his brain was lacking in oxygen. Wonder what the other people there must be like. Akasaka, you alright in there? But he couldn't take his eyes off of the shrine. Thank you, Akasaka. We needed your thoughts. Was this a hallucination? So, what? That was all that was needed, is to see things from Akasaka's point of view for this scene. That's what's needed to bring him onto the board to make the perfect scenario possible. Akasaka felt like a stranger was talking to him. You must wish for a miracle, and you must wish for a miracle too, otherwise a miracle will never occur. Unless everyone wishes for a miracle, it won't occur. Unless both sides reach out, their hands won't meet in the middle. So is this like Rika peering in through time here for all these pieces? And essentially, the previous arc, the reason why Akasaka didn't end up, helping in the end, despite making a cameo appearance, is because we didn't get this scene, so Rika wasn't able to kind of break the rules of time and space or something. So, like, talk to him, I guess. Because otherwise, I'd imagine in any other scenario, he'd be screaming at the shrine, but get no answer, presumably. But now that Rika's like, hey, I've seen what you've given me. So we need your help and all that. So, pray for a miracle for us as well, would ya? Anyways, let's wish for a miracle, let's wish for a miracle, otherwise miracle will never occur unless everyone wishes for a miracle, it won't occur unless both sides reach out their hands or meet in the middle. Everyone else has reached out their hands, Akasaka, you're going to do the same. Didn't know what she was trying to say, but somehow he felt like he couldn't miss a single word of it. Felt like it was something very, very important. Akasaka, if you wish for it, I'll grant you this miracle, and it'll be a miracle for us too. Joining these broken fragments will give us the chance to create an even greater fragment. Your resolve on its own may greatly influence everyone's fates and intentions. Can you turn back to that day? No, I can't do that. The only thing I can do is to let you notice. To let you notice that things you can't learn from one fragment, you can learn from others. So all you have to do is to return this broken fragment to where it belongs. That's a big miracle itself, though you probably won't even notice it. I wonder at the same time, it could be Rika, but it could be Hanyu. Hanyu would kind of make more sense, because, like, if anything's gonna be able to, break through all this kind of stuff, be able to do this and be like, okay, that makes sense, because Hanyu is a deity, she's a god. So, maybe it's Hanyu doing the talking. But, Rika, is along for the ride, so maybe she's just, like, there as well. It's like, oh, look at that, Hanyu, look. We overlooked this piece. Thank you, Akasaka. Thank you for remembering me. I don't even know how much time I spent asking you for help. Okay, it's definitely Rika doing the talking then. But finally, it reached you. It only took how many arcs? So I'll say it one more time. Please help me. No. Well, actually, not just arcs, but in general years. I mean, Rika's alluded to the fact that she'd pretty much be 100 based on how many times she's relived the events. I mean, they used to be able to rewind back in time by a few years as well, so that would add up as well. But like the more recent ones have just been only rewind as far back as like the events of the series, where it's like in June. So that's like not even a month. So my God, it must have, well, maybe they could rewind like, I don't know, how many times do you reckon she's gone through this scenario where she's been killed? Because if they could rewind further back in time, you'd add actual years. But then the ones where it's just like a month, that would be like hell if it was like the majority was made up of that. But you can imagine there's like, you know, rewind 5 years, rewind 5 years again, 5 years again. But even with that, it'd still be a nightmare, man. Because then the time gets shorter each time as the rewinds. And even at its most, it's not rewinding by too much. And 100 years, add on that, my god, she's died way too many times. Please help us. You've got to save them from this tragedy. Called Higurashi when they cry Kai. The series where everyone keeps dying. Well, mostly everyone. Wait, what? Why was it? Why is it shatters? Was that to indicate? Oh yeah, that piece was incomplete. But now that we got the Hinamizawa fragment, well, the leftover fragment of it, we can do this.